Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So today I'm going to be playing in my Large Dilutions art journal, my creative journal, and I'm going to be tackling the mid-month mini mission for the month of November. And now this month the word is trust, and I'll put it up on the screen here so you can have a look. But I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different take on it, a little bit of a playful page today. So what I'll do is I'll switch over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what I'm going to be creating. Okay, so I've turned to a blank page in my creative journal. I'm going to be working landscape today because I want to do, I don't want to do a double page spread because what I've got, the imagery that I'm going to be using is not big enough to fill a double page spread. So I'm just going to do a landscape page in my art journal. So to get started, I want to put a base coat of gesso down. So I've got some white gesso, the Gesso Good from Indigo Blue, but obviously other brands are available. Just use whatever you've got, and I'm just going to do a liberal coating of white gesso all around the page. Now I'm going to be doing a little bit of kind of like sponging techniques and just building up backgrounds on this page. I'm not going to be using any stencils, it's mostly going to be sponging and blending with paint. So I need a good base coat so that the paint's going to grab, and also, well, it's going to bond because obviously the gesso has got a tooth to it which helps the paint bond to the page, but also helps the paint manoeuvre. A little bit of dry gubbins there, but that's okay. Don't mind a little bit of texture. Okay, so that's pretty much got white gesso covered over the entire page. Now this is going to be an art journal page of two halves, and you'll see why in a second. And I'm going to see if I can try and get rid of that little bit of paint that's in the background, because that's just where, that's it, it's just where I want to stick one of my focal points. So I don't particularly want any lumps behind it. There we go. And I've just got back over there again with a little bit of gesso. Because the gesso does dry quite quickly, but just to make sure, I'm going to give it a quick blast with my heat gun. Make sure it's all nice and dry before I move on to the next stage. Okay, so my gessoed page is now completely dry. So what I want to do now is just bring in a sheet of cardstock that I've got, and I've drawn, or taken a ruler, and I've just drawn a diagonal line from the top left-hand corner down to the bottom right-hand corner. That's just there to give me a kind of guide. Now I did say that I was going to be doing this art journal page in two halves today, so this is particularly what I meant. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and start to rip the page. It's quite thick cardstock, that's better. And I'm going to try and rip it so it's a little bit uneven, going all the way down, but trying to keep as close to that line as I can, but still manage to get some of that uneven kind of line. I don't want a straight line, so I don't mind if it wobbles a little bit away from it, but as long as it comes back again and I kind of follow that direction all the way down. Okay, so that does it. So just so I know, I should say top right, and that one's going to be bottom left, just that I know which way around that these are going to go. Okay, so I'm going to be using these as kind of, not necessarily stencils, but kind of just guards to help this so I don't get any of the colour from this side onto this side. So it's going to be a kind of diagonal 2-half page. All will come clear, trust me. So I'm just going to move our art journal to that side. Now I need a little bit of a paint mat, so let's just see if I can find one of my polypropylene mats. There we go. And I'll slide that underneath. And I'm going to start building up the paint on this side first. Okay, so the colours I'm going to use for the top right hand corner are, I've got white, I've got peacock, and I've also got turquoise blue. So 2 different blues and some white. So I'm going to start off just by putting a base coat down of, in fact I could probably put that straight down onto the page. Okay, and what did I do with my paintbrush? There we go. Then I'm just going to very quickly, holding that page down, I'm just going to quickly go over and do a kind of wash of blue colour in the background. I'm holding that stencil or that mask down, and I'm not being particularly bothered about getting a complete coverage. Leaving those paintbrush marks in there is fine. Just make sure I get up into that corner and then down there into that corner. That is just perfect. Okay, I'm not, just grab my paintbrush water, just give that a quick rinse out. For this particular side, I'm not all that bothered about making sure that my brush is completely clean, as long as it's damp and wet. And I'm going to leave that a little bit wet as well. And then I'm going to start adding in some lighter blue. My turquoise is starting to run out. Okay, and now I'm going to grab the sponge. Now this is a natural sponge, it's a painter's sponge, and all I've done, it comes in like little circles, and all I've done is I've just cut it into quarters because I'm cheap and I don't like using whole ones. Has that moved slightly? That's okay. Oop. Line that back up again. It started to curl a little bit, but that's okay. Right, and I'm just going to start going around now and laying down some different colours of that lighter blue over the top. Just gently manoeuvring, just blending that background out, and if I need a little bit more, just add a little bit to the mat rather than directly to the page this time. If I add it directly to the page and then start working on it, I might actually start lifting the paint off the page because we have that gesso underneath. So okay, so let's just get that mottled background working. Just light dabs. Okay, and then we can start working and introducing some of the white. I'm going to need a fair bit. I definitely know my Dina Wakley white is starting to run out, but okay, I'm going to start using the same sponge. I'm going to start adding in the white, particularly in certain areas, so just kind of blending it through. Just dabbing down. Lighter in some areas, heavier in others. Okay, I'm going to dry that now. I've got my basic kind of colour down. So I'll get this dried and then I will be right back. Okay, so that top part of the page is actually dry, but I do want to add some more white back onto it. So I'm just going to put that mask back in place as easy as I can. Grab my sponge. I put some more white paint out and I want to add some more white down here. Just a little bit heavier. Because I've got something that I want to be adding, like my focal point that I want to add. There we go. That just adds a nice bit of texture there. Make sure I've got plenty of white down here. Now I've just taken out of my drawer the Dina Wakley Media Elephant, which is a light grey colour. So I'm also now just going to take a little bit of that grey. I don't want too much. I'm going to just add a little bit of grey into the mix too. Just to add a little bit of variation in colour from the white. And then pick up the rest. A little bit of grey down here. Don't want a lot, but just a little bit. Just adds a little bit of a difference in colour tone from the white. Yeah, I think maybe just a tad more white. But I can always add it once it's dry again. So while it's still wet, it's going to blend a bit more. I just want a few real white kind of highlights, particularly towards the tops. There we go. That should do me. I'm happy with that particular section, so I'm just going to take that off, move it to one side. I'm going to get this dried and then we'll start working on the bottom left hand corner. Okay, so that's all dry. Now I just thought I'd show you. I did add just a little bit more white here because I wasn't particularly happy, so I did that a little bit off camera, but I did it in exactly the same way. So I just added one small little bit more of white down there. So this is the other side of the sheet that we ripped in to half. So I'm just going to lay it down pretty much in the same position. So obviously some of that paint seeped through, you can just see it, which is fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I've got another piece of sponge. This time I'm going to be using, just to create that kind of divide between the two sections of the page, I'm actually going to just use some black just to kind of create a little bit of a line. Now the black paint from Dina Wakley is a little bit thinner. It's not quite as thick as the other. So all I'm going to do for here, I'm just going to go over and create just kind of a sponged divide between the two sides and sections of the page. Now this will help later on. I'm hoping it will anyway. Let's get right up there. And if some of this just seeps a little bit underneath, that's fine. And then I'll bring that black just further down here. Just start diffusing it out. Even if I pick up some of that grey, that's not too bad. I want a little bit of black in that background, just where that page divides, just to create a nice kind of rip seam, if you like, between the two. There we go. So we've got that. Now we can go back over this later, that's not an issue, if we wanted to get rid of some of that white, but I think I will actually just disguise that with something else once we get going. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there for now. So I'm going to start bringing in some more colour. Just get some of that black paint off the mat and then just start working that into the background a little bit. Just add some more of that black in. That's it. I think I added a little bit too much water from the brush. That's okay, because like I said, we're going to be doing something kind of similar to what we did on the other half of the page. But I want a dark background for this side. Okay, let's get that dry, and then we can carry on with adding some more colour. Okay, so that black is now dry, but this kind of white seam here, where it doesn't kind of join, is kind of bothering me a little bit. So what I've done is I've just brought back in that previous mask, and I'm just going to lay it back down, but I'm just going to move it slightly, just so it kind of covers or creates that kind of dark gash, if you'll pardon the expression. And I'm just going to grab that grey again, and I'm just going to dab some more, the elephant I should say. That was the Dina Wakley elephant paint. And I'm going to grab the previous sponge that we used, and I'm just going to mix. I'm just going to very kind of lightly now kind of try and diffuse along that edge where some of that white was. I'm also just going to pick up a little bit of that black. And hopefully that's going to help to kind of diffuse that a little bit. There we go. And if I bring some of that grey just over into the black, there. I'll just tap that out. Better. Happier with that now. Okay, so let me just get that dry and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've put that mask back in place now, and I'm going to grab some more of that grey, and I've just mixed it with the remaining black, and I'm actually going to create now a more kind of defined line over the top and blend that back in. There we go. Much better. Okay, so I'll just move that to one side. Now over this side now I'm going to start introducing some different colours. And I will need probably some more or another piece of sponge. So I shall just cut that remaining half of the sponge into 3. And then the first colour that I'm going to bring in is going to be the ruby. So I'll add some of that red. Work it into the sponge, and then I'm going to start just kind of working up being careful not to go over my little line. I'm just going to do kind of snaky kind of look. Probably going to need a lot more of this red paint actually. It's not as opaque as I thought it was going to be, or hoped it was going to be, but that's okay. Just tip that right the way down to the bottom. Get some of that up there. And the thing with using a sponge like this is that you can build up the colour over time. So if you're not happy with its opacity, you can wait till it's dry, or you can use your heat gun, dry it, and then come back in and add another layer over the top if you want to, which is what I'm probably going to do. So that's my first red layer down, so I'm going to dry that and then I'll be back. Okay, so the red's dry. I'm going to go back over again and add some more over the top. This time just working in between a little bit. I'm going to need a lot more of the red down. Should make it a lot more vibrant once you add the red on top of your existing, because you're creating that second kind of layer and you're building red upon red, so rather than red upon black. So that's going to be a lot more, just get right down to that corner, a lot more vibrant in the background. Okay, so I'll just quickly dry that. Okay, so the red is dry, so now I'm going to be bringing in some tangerine. And this time, rather than using a sponge, I've got a little flat brush. This is one I got free with some gelatos from Faber-Castell. So I'm just going to paint in I'm just going to twist the brush as I'm pulling it down, just to get some kind of uneven shapes. Pretty wild and uneven. Because my page is still warm from when I set it a moment ago, it's actually drying pretty quick. I'm just going over in some areas where it's darker, and then I'm just going to start flicking up a little bit. Just to create a little bit of diffusion. So we've got the red in the background. I'm just trying to stay a little bit away from going too mad over in that corner there. Because when it starts to dry, go back, add some more controlled strokes if you want to. Some lighter oranges down there, and I think for the orange of the tangerine, that's pretty much going to be it for me. I'll drop that in the water. I'm going to get that dried off, and then I'll be back when that's dry. Okay, so that's pretty much dry now. So I'm going to bring in some lighter colour. So this is the lemon. Dina Wakley again, and this time somewhere I've got a little bit more of a detail brush, so I'm just going to grab some of that yellow onto the brush, work it into the bristles, and then I can just start dragging that yellow down. It's not a very stiff brush, I have to admit. So I'm just adding in yellow details, drag it up and down. Sometimes when you're concentrating, when you're doing stuff like this, particularly when you're filming, I've said before, sometimes I forget to talk. So if I do apologise. But that's the cathartic nature of art journaling. You kind of tend to lose yourself in the process. I sometimes forget you're sat there watching me. Because you're very quiet and you don't answer back mostly. Sometimes I hear you shouting at the screen in my head. Not very often. Trying to add in some yellows just down there at the bottom as well. Just to kind of fill in. Just helps to create that illusion. Because I'm by no means an illustrator. All I'm trying to do here is just to create the illusion. And it is, when all said and done, a background, because I will be putting something over the top in a moment. Do I sound like I'm making excuses? Probably do. But I don't care. Okay, let's get this dry. Okay, so that's pretty much dry. So I'm just going to add that mask back over the top. Just about there, like that, because I want to add some more white. Oh, some white down here. But before I do that, I just want to add a little bit of water to it. And I've got my dirty fan brush, my grungy fan brush, if you like. And I'm just going to hold that down, and I'm going to just do some flicks towards the top. So that they kind of look like flying white hot embers. That should theoretically do me for that part of the page anyway. There we go. Now sometimes just doing the slightest things to it just kind of like brings it together, like that does. Okay, so again, I need to get it dry. Okay, so I'm going to start adding my focal points now to my art journal page. But before I do that, I've just torn a piece of music paper that I have from my collection, and I'm just grabbing some brown, I think it's coffee, and I'm just going to just whip around the edges of this piece just to kind of give it a little bit of age. Just to dirty it up a little bit. Concentrating more on the bottom half than the top half, really. Add a little bit up there. And then down at the bottom, I'm just going to grab, I've got black soot, there we are. And just pick up a little bit of black soot from there. Just make sure I've got this the right way around, yeah. To make it look a bit more charred. So I think that's probably about halfway. Yeah, that's going to do it. I think that is going to do it. And then I have my focal, or my quote, which I'm not just going to reveal just yet. I'm just going to add a little bit of black around the bottom part of that as well. In fact, actually I'm going to do the whole thing, but only lightly at the top, but darker at the bottom. Okay, so I need some glue. There we go, got some glue. Fancy forgetting the glue. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. I don't know if I actually open it. Stop laughing. Okay, place that one kind of like down in the middle, and then I'm going to just add that there, flip it over and add some glue onto the back. And then drop that right in the middle. Yeah. Now remember, the word for the art journal page is trust. So be careful who you trust. Remember, the devil was once an angel. That's not my focal point though. I've actually got a couple of little characters here that I've cut out. Now I wanted to do this kind of tongue-in-cheek, a little bit cutesy, not serious at all. So here's my first character. And I've left the white halo around the character because I just think it adds a nice kind of like little border. Just adds a nice little bit of funness, if that is a word. And I've had these characters in my stash for many, many years. These were used for other stuff, day job stuff. I just thought that they would make a real cute addition to this art journal page. So, just before I finish off, I'm going to take a white Signo. Oh dear me, I can't speak today. It's the Uniball, the Signo Uniball broad white opaque pen, and I'm going to just make sure it's actually working, and then along that tear that we did through the page, I'm just going to go right the way around and then do it again. This is a brand new pen, it's just suddenly stopped working. How irritating. Never mind. I got the first one down. Anyway, that will do, I think. So I'll just grab. In fact, shall I? No, as soon as I can't write it in the white, I shall write it in the black. So at the bottom here, I'm just going to sign it and put today's date, which I think is it the 20th today. Yes, I think it is the 20th today. 20 November 18. And that is my art journal page for the November mid-month mini mission inspiration, and the word, like I said, was trust. I hope you enjoyed watching that. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again real soon. Oh, before I go, if you're interested what the music was, I know. How appropriate. That's all from me. I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.